Hello, hello, hello. I just wanted to say that.
Hello and welcome to an AHEM moment. I am Caroline Cho.
I guess we're doing this.
That is completely and utterly your fault, and it is staying. Everybody will now know what I know. So now he's embarrassed, but whatever, get over yourself. And it's out there. So, be proud. Be proud and stand by your words.
Just a mic check.
No, it wasn't. This is the reality of this household, is that this one will talk about just about anything, and still giggles like a little schoolboy whenever you talk about farts or bathroom jokes or whatever, but you laugh like nobody's business with a bathroom joke. I swear to God. It is like beyond anything else that you've ever laughed over. There was a time that a kid we know was drawing a picture of their day, a special day in their life, and we couldn't figure out what one of the pictures of them was, but then this one screams out as he realizes, Eric goes, "Oh God, it's a urinal!" And he could not stop laughing. Y'all who know him have heard his laugh, however, at the same time, for the rare occasion that he really cannot stop laughing, it is a high-pitched, extremely, giggly little boy laugh. It's very much like, like that kind of thing. So, anyway, yes, bathroom talk. The way of the secret to my marriage, if there is one, is that this one just makes bathroom joke after bathroom joke and laughs over them. Yeah.
It's not true.
It is, and be proud of it. That, and just laughing every day, yeah. But at the same time, there are my eccentricities, of course. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But that said, we actually just got back from yet another great trip to Disney World. And how do we leeway into that? Because here's the greatest thing about this. One of our happy places is actually, the happiest place on earth. And, at the same time, it's also a landmarking vacation and a recurring vacation for the two of us since the beginning of our relationship, yeah?
I guess so. Yeah, right? We've been 5 times? 6 times?
There was the very first one, then there was another one, and then there was when we went with your cousins from Taiwan when they came to visit. And then...
Yeah, 5 or 6 times.
Probably 5 or 6 times together. But we will tell you the story of the first trip to Disney together and how this changed the course of how we knew each other forever. Here it is. So, or actually Disney and Universal. Let me reiterate and play fair game to both, NBC Universal and to the Disney Corporation. Sponsors, please. So, it was about 2000...
I don't even know. 7 or 8? 7?
2007, maybe 2006. And we had already gone on one trip together. Now, landmarking moment when you decide to go on trips together, yeah, sure. I had not really traveled with people I went out with before. However, we went on one trip to Vegas.
Well, in general, right?
That was 2005, I think.
Right.
Like that. And then we decided we were going to go to Walt Disney World. Now, here's what I had to tell him before we went on our trip. Fun fact about me is that I have a fear of the dark and of animatronics and dark water. So, what does that mean for somebody who's going to take me to any sort of, park that has adventure rides and all these, things? I said that I made the joke, and yet find some truth in it, which is that there are 2 ways to kill somebody at Disney World, or someone like me, per se. One is they will do it slowly, which is to pan you very slowly across, slowly through the storybook ride or whatever you're doing. This was actually the trip that we just went on was finally a time in our lives where I told you, that that Pirates of the Caribbean actually creeps me out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason I ever really decided to ride it was because you like to ride it.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, that first Disney trip was 2010. I just looked it up.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
There you go. Never mind.
Wow, we were way off.
way. No, it wasn't. It was before that because...
That was a spring break trip. The first time we went, it was spring break. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway. So regardless, I'm sorry I keep doing that. Spring allergies are well in effect, and they are killing both of us. Love the flowers, love spring, but my Lord Jesus, it's not
It's
fun.
rough.
It's rough.
Yeah, and I don't usually get allergies. I don't have seasonal allergies, but this year for some reason it's been difficult. In any case.
So basically, I forewarned you about this, my fear of all this stuff that makes me nervous at Disney. Where does it go back to? It goes back to my very first trip to Disney World, probably when I was about 5 or 6, or one that I was actually conscious to remember. And pretty much I went on, now if any of you have ever been there before, you knew of the Snow White ride. The one that originated in California, which is Snow White's, not Enchanted Forest. Now they've renamed it. But it was like Snow White's like Dark Adventure or something, Dark Adventure Through the Woods or something like that. And what the heck did I know? I was a young kid and I was like, ooh, Snow White! And then...
But why would you name the ride that? Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just... So I go on this ride and... My sister makes fun of me for this, but whatever. She gets easily scared too. Ha, yes, I said it. I basically went on, and the witch pops out of nowhere when you're on this ride. It is not Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, people. This is
a storybook ride.
It's a storybook ride that I made you go on it by yourself because, and this is back when it was still at the Florida park. And you went up on it by yourself because I was like, you are about to see what scarred me for life on rides and everything else. So what did you think?
I mean, by then I was, 20, something, late 20s, I guess? Yeah, that ride's messed up. The witch pops up out of nowhere, which is not even like the worst part of it, I think. At least for me, the worst part is the part with the hunter. I forgot this about the movie itself, that he's basically chasing Snow White around with a machete, and it's like, what are we doing here, Disney? I mean, this is insane. Maybe rethink this, and you know what? They closed it. Bye for the best.
Okay. So then this brings me to what happened was I ended up going 2 more times after that. Once when I was 8 years old, and then with my siblings and my mom, and then again I went for my spring break in senior year with my best friend Liz and our friends Sayori and Samara. And I don't know what happened. I was very excited to be there. I was finally staying on site at at one of the resorts. And again, immigrant experience of my parents is that we never ever stayed at a Disney hotel. It was seen as a huge expense. It was ridiculous.
A frivolous expense, right?
Yeah, like also buying food at the parks and all that other stuff that was seen as ridiculous. My mom would always pack sandwiches and put them in her bag. She found the nearest grocery stores and always did that. Anyway, so I was excited. It was my spring break with my girlfriends, and we were down in Disney World because, and this is another story for another day, my mom definitely wasn't going to let me go to the Bahamas with my girlfriends or, Puerto Rico or wherever for spring break. But this she allowed. And yes, I know she didn't let all 3 of us siblings go on spring break, but I was going to the tamest place on earth with my best friend from next door. So you couldn't get much more like PG rated than that. So sorry that, this happened. Anyway, so this time when I went in my senior year, I noticed something started happening to me when I was on the rides with my friends. I was on the ride at Epcot.
the Spaceship Earth, yeah.
And for those who don't know what that is, it's the ride that's about the history of the world.
Yeah, it's inside the golf ball.
Inside the golf ball. History of the world as seen from, in my opinion, a very European perspective.
But you can say a white perspective.
Okay, that too. Yes, a very white perspective. Anyway, so I was in that, and the ride kept stopping. It's old. At the time, it wasn't as updated, I guess, as they try to maintain it now. I think they had just gone through one big round of renovations, and so we were in it, and it kept stopping. And I know exactly where this happened, because ever since we've gone back and we go on that ride, it's always in this one spot. I always look at it and remember, which is there's a gentleman, a animatronic man in there who is writing hieroglyphics, carving them into something, not writing them on papyrus, but
oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. So we just kept stopping, and they're like, "Please excuse our interruption. We are currently experiencing." Technical difficulties. Please stay in your vehicle. That kind of thing. And I remember starting to panic. Not panicking in my head, but your body just knows that something's wrong. My palms started sweating. I remember this very clearly. And I was sitting with my friend Samara in the car, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I think so. I'm not sure what's happening here. And I noticed, as we were continuing, we just kept stopping, and I just kept getting more and more nervous. So what I meant to go back was to the whole point of, there's two ways for you to die at Disney World, or me, anyway, at the time, which was to, A, do it slowly. They're going to pan you slowly through the ride and basically, torture you pretty much, and just have these things just staring at you and trying to grab you and trying to or whatever, throwing water on you, and so then the other way is to do it quickly, which is to just jump out of the shadows and just do it, get it over with and make you faint.
That's what the witch was in that Snow White ride. It just
exactly.
popped up out of nowhere.
And so
and the whale too in
yes, the whale. We'll talk about that.
Not in Snow White, but in Pinocchio. Anyway,
so after this ride was over on that trip when I was in 12th grade for spring break, I basically started noticing I was getting very anxious, just really anxious, being in the dark or in the water. Pirates was a bit of a challenge for me because it was dark and it was water. And this was before, they threw Johnny Depp in there as Captain Jack Sparrow. It was just... And then, of course, my friends were making fun of me because they're like, "Ooh, Caroline's so scared." And we went on It's a Small World, and of course they were laughing their asses off, being like, "Don't worry, they're not going to kill you."
You don't know that.
It was very much a Duff beer for me, Duff beer for you. Very much one of those moments. And I will say, though, that to this day, I'm pretty convinced it was from any trauma I experienced before and stuff that was manifesting with all the anxiety of, what was laying ahead and, finishing senior year, yada, yada, yada. So fast forward to when you and I went together, and we decided we were going to go. Now, the trip started with a big, interesting, wonderful rainstorm.
That first time, yeah.
First time we went. And when I say our first day was rained out, it was rained out. Yes, you can get Mickey ponchos and, go around the park. No. This rain was not stopping.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those, where it rains for 20 minutes and then it's over and then the sun comes out. It was actually going on for a few hours.
Right.
It was I mean, I guess maybe typical for springtime in Florida, but it was also very strange.
And it was, we were completely soaked, and we were just we had to basically, it was so bad that we cut the day short. This was before, park hopper passes and, all that jazz, or at least that we knew of in our trip that we planned. So we ended up being like, you know what, we're cutting our losses. We've gone on every ride we wanted to go to at Epcot, so we're just going to cut the day short. However, then we went to, we had Magic Kingdom all to ourselves the next morning, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, because it was still raining that next day that we went back. And Yeah, we were. I think you and I even like tried counting like out of the entire park. We maybe counted like something like 20 people. It was nuts.
It was kind of
nuts.
it was every kid's dream basically to be in Magic Kingdom by yourself, and I did feel kind of bad for the child who was riding Pirates of the Caribbean in front of us because he was clearly terrified. Because it was just the four of us in that boat. He was riding with his adult, and we were riding in the back. And I just remember being like, it's like, oh yay, I have like the whole place to myself, no lines, no nothing. But then you do it, and it's weird because we would pass by, and when I tell you when you're the only person walking down Main Street towards the Magic Kingdom, towards Cinderella's castle, and you realize just how short of a distance it is when there are no people there.
Right.
How quickly you get from point A to point B to all these lands, and we knew. Because it was raining and no one was really there, we're like, let's go to Fantasyland and Adventureland. Do all the popular rides first because we know everyone's going to be there.
We did like Space Mountain and
which was your first time riding Space
Mountain.
Yeah,
ever, and we did we did Pirates, Teacups, all that stuff. Yeah.
Again, teacups to yourself. It's interesting.
And what's crazy is that like even when we were not on those sorts of rides, they were still operating when no one was on them.
It's
weird. It's so weird.
It's creepy as hell. It looks like Ghost Town, basically. But
Swiss Family Robinson's treehouse. When there's no one there and it's like overcast. Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah, and so back to that. Another thing was there was this ride at Epcot that I also refused to ride. And I might have shut down by I don't remember, but it was one where it was like learning about dinosaurs or whatever you want to call it.
It was probably just called dinosaurs, right?
I don't remember, but it was like...
Or something like that, yeah.
And Liz, yes, you made fun of me for being very nervous on this, but the dinosaurs freaking squirted water at you. Like, one of them was a Dilophosaurus, and the other one was like a Brontosaurus spouting water from the top. I was like, first off, don't want no. I was like, dinosaur snot is gross. Secondly...
Well, we don't know that one.
I was like, don't squirt freaking water at me, you freaking... annoying.
Yeah, you dinosaur. That's why you're extinct.
Anyway, and you understood this. I made this no mystery to you. So when I say I gripped you with the grip of death, basically.
Yeah, it's true. Still does.
Yeah.
Which is fine, like totally fine.
I would go on rides, and I was still anxious. It came from whatever place it came from, and I just warned you about this. I said, this is going to be me, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I'm sorry. Like, I will do what I can. And so I in the past few years, when I had gone on these trips, I'd had people who would just make fun of me. There used to be a thing at Magic Kingdom, Alien Encounters. And if you don't remember Alien Encounters, you remember that it was like, this alien gets loose in the audience and starts like coming up behind you. It's like a stimulation, but licking your hair, drooling on you, breathing on you in the dark. And,
Stitch?
Well, it became Stitch after that. And I just went like, oh hell no. I was like, oh hell no. Do you guys want me to faint? And my girlfriends on the senior trip were just like, oh come on, it doesn't sound that bad. Meanwhile, I'm listening to it. Like, everyone in the audience screaming, and, like, the boom, boom. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'll see you guys at the exit. And when they got out of the show, I remember they were just like, okay, so you made the right choice. I could see you not doing well with this. And and then I found out years later from all those Disney, documentaries that are on Disney Plus that, Michael Eisner or whoever had decided this was a way to bring older kids to the park or have something for them. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. You're also gonna scar them for life, so have a nice time with that. It has since been
converted.
It's now being converted. So we then go to Universal Studios, although we might have gone before. I think we might have gone after we'd finished or something.
That first trip.
That first trip.
Yeah.
That was back when it was affordable to us.
Oh, right. Well, it was just,
And,
yeah.
I mean, we were, 20-something making our own money. We were just like, we have nothing to lose.
Right.
And we still are. Hey, but we're just not 20-something anymore. Don't tell anyone. And so we had gone to Universal, and I had adamantly told you, I am not going on Jurassic Park.
Right, yeah.
You will not make me.
And I didn't.
You would have to pay me exorbitant amounts of money to go on that. What the hell is it about dinosaurs? I don't know. I loved Jurassic Park when I was growing up. I loved that movie.
But that's the thing, right? It's just a movie, and then once it becomes real, that's a different story, right?
Or a simulation or something. So I went, and that, I'm going to go back and forth with this for a minute, but in Animal Kingdom, there is the dinosaur ride. And so we went on that with the lights on, and the lights were on. I remember in not you and I, but on my trip, previous trip, we went on that. The lights were on. There was a malfunction, and they said if you still want to go on this ride because it's here, why not? And I foolishly went on thinking, I can get over it. The lights are on. It's not a big deal. Big mistake. Big. It was so traumatic. The lights were on. I could see, obviously, the illusion of what was there. And I was just like, it still scared me. Like nobody I could not even tell you. And so I had warned you for Jurassic Park, I'm not going on it. And Universal said, nope. I would.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't mess around with, if someone has, a fear or a phobia of something, that is not something to... Yeah, I just always feel empathetic for those people.
So this landmarked the moment in which I decided, you know what, this dude's the one for me. And it wasn't Jurassic Park. It was actually the E.T. ride. I had never ridden E.T. before. I had waited my entire life, and when I mean my entire life, you talk about this on the school playground with kids when you're in elementary school and middle school. Everybody I knew had ridden E.T. when they had gone to Universal, I think yourself included.
Yeah, when we went, I might have been in elementary school, I think, probably 8 or 9 years old, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew nothing about it because when I had gone with my siblings, it was closed. And mind you guys...
The ride was closed?
The ride was closed.
Oh.
Mind you, for those guys who have not seen E.T. because it's not of your generation, I knew there were bikes involved because that is the iconic...
Yeah.
it's even on the icon for Amblin Entertainment. And so I was determined to go on this ride because it had been a lifelong kind of goal. And we got in there. And I was like, okay. So I went and I asked this attendant, what is this ride like? And you're going to have to tell me word for word what happens.
Yeah.
And they did their best. And I said, and you kept reassuring me, it's okay. It's going to be fine. But I had already previously screamed at you, because we went to Islands of Adventure and this,
oh, right.
the Spider-Man 3D ride had freaked me out because you did not tell me that Spider-Man jumps on the hood right in front of you.
Well, the last time I was on that ride was 10 years before, and I didn't remember. I mean, it was cool, when I did it, so I didn't think anything of it, and I completely forgot. And then the Spider-Man jumps on the hood of the vehicle that you're riding in and just starts talking to you or whatever, and then some of the villains, squirt water or whatever, something like that, and I'd forgotten all about that.
Yeah. So anyway, this time we went into the E.T. ride in Classic Universal Studios, Florida. I walked in the doors, head held up high, was like, I can do this. You get into the waiting room, where you're standing in line, and it's dark. It's dark, and there are men in astronaut uniforms or something looking for E.T.
Yeah, just like the movie, yeah.
It looking at it now, it's very different, because I'm like, oh my god, this is so, low tech, and, that kind of thing. But
I mean, but for then,
at the time, I was terrified, and I just got really nervous and just froze. And that had happened previously on the trip when we went to Finding Nemo. I also froze there, even though it's Nemo, of course. But I froze there in Epcot because it was dark. And you took me by the hand. You said, it's okay. Like, I'll go first. You know, that kind of thing. In E.T., I was just really ashamed of myself because I had this fear that was clearly festering and taking over my body. And I felt really, really like down about it. And you were very sweet, and you didn't drag me. You didn't, push me to go on. There was these benches outside of the ride, and you said, okay, well, let's sit here and we're going to chill for a bit. And he goes, if you want to go on, we'll go on. And if you don't want to go on, that's okay. Like, we'll do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and this is where you have to give your name, because at the end of the ET ride, he says your name.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, it's not a spoiler if it's like a million years old at this point. So that's where these benches were. So we sat there, and one door goes to the ride, and then on the other side of the room, there's another door that's the exit. So for people who just want to leave, so we're literally standing in between both of these doors. We're just sitting there. I just told her, whenever you're ready, whatever you want to do, that's what we're gonna do.
And I don't know why, but in that moment, I just kind of sat there and I looked at you and I was like, man, this guy, this is it for me. I was like, if you're willing to deal with this absolutely crazily abstract fear of mine, then that's it for me. You're it. And you're going to do this with me for the rest of my life.
And, yeah, we have.
Ever since.
Thus far.
Yep. So, thank you, Universal, for having your ET ride. And
bringing people together.
And thank you, Disney, for always still being our happiest place on earth. Has my fear gotten better? I'd say so. I survived Hagrid's thing at Universal Studios, and I never went on the Snow White ride ever again, or the dinosaur ride. But I did go on Pirates. Despite my better judgment, I made you sit on the outside.
Yeah, and it's fine.
Well, the side I knew I was going to get splashed on, I was like, nope, you are going over there. But in any case, it's going to continue being one of our happy places. So.
Yep, can't wait to go back.
And what happened on the Pinocchio ride, you ask, with the whale? Well, please tell them.
Yeah, so we're on the ride, and the whale just pops up out of nowhere from the side, and this one is just screaming, what the hell? Except she didn't say hell, and in front of, it's a kid ride, so we're like near children, and she's screaming her head off over this thing, and it's like, okay, yeah.
Whatever, we went to the guy and also had to tell them that Pleasure Island smelled like weed. True story.
It did.
Disneyland, Disney World, Universal Studios. Never stops being fun.